motion to amend the agenda. Okay, under administrative, I need to add D, discussion of SoWo event. And 17 needs to be executive session for personnel. 17 will now be 18, and 18 will now be 19. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. I need approval for the minutes from May the 5th, 2015. Second? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Petitions and communications from the public. Hello, public. We have a house full today. Since we do have a lot of people, I am going to ask that you keep your comments to 2 minutes. You know, one way or the other, good, bad, or indifferent. And so, at this time, if you're the public and you have something to say, please come forward, state your name, and
Hi, my name is Deborah Sanford, and I'm a resident of Helen, Georgia. I have to say, I haven't been to a meeting in several years. Seemed like everything was going well until our event came this weekend. Saturday night, what I saw was absolutely appalling. The destruction in this town for all of us who have worked hard to have our homes and our businesses here was absolutely uncalled for. It took me 5 hours to get from the peanut stand outside of town to my home here. I ran out of gas, and believe you me, I prayed for my life. What I saw along the way, I could not even begin to speak about.
when was this?
Saturday night.
Saturday night.
Starting at 9:15.
Okay.
What went on Main Street and the back street there and the destruction was totally uncalled for. And if that is fun and bringing revenue to this town, I'm sorry, I don't see it. I am all for fun, good times, and making money. I've worked hard in this town, as all the rest of you have. And I'm sorry what I saw Saturday night. This town can't hold all of that, can't hold all of this many people either.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is that it?
How you doing?
I'm fine, how are you?
I'm all right. I'm Chris Seymour, owner of Alpine Carriage Company. Just to add a little bit to what she said. First of all, I want to back up a week to the street name. We were shut down, could not operate the horse carriage because of where it was. I went by 3 different times. I never saw a soul in the street. Not a one. Everybody was there around the band in the front, having a great time. And I'm all for that. But look at the money I lost.
I think they did that so all those people could go to the restroom there without getting run over.
There's 10,000 people go across that street right now in front of me not every day, but not 10,000. You know what I mean? Every day there's a lot go across it there right now without getting run over.
Well, and maybe next year when we have the one in September, we may look at, you know, keeping one lane of that.
I would be very appreciative of that. I mean, there's a lot of people down there, and that's where we make our money from, you know? And, I would
Chris,
appreciate it.
we didn't have any way of knowing how many people would show up for this.
Right.
So we were trying to prepare for that, but I think you might have points, because I know how crowded it gets during the
Yes, ma'am.
So we may look at doing that over
And I would
next
be
year.
very appreciative of it. And as far as this past Saturday night, I had to walk a mile from right down the bottom of this hill. I had to park and walk right up at the top of the hill and get my daughter and walk her back through that. I have video of it. It was, I understand the police department were doing what they had to do. If they had to do a whole lot more, it would have been a riot. It was a mob mentality. I'm all for, I don't know who made money in this town this weekend. I can tell you right now, I didn't even put a horse out. I couldn't. I could not, but it was too dangerous. I just couldn't. Didn't make it down. I appreciate it.
Okay, please, thank you very much.
Yes, I'm Barbara Mitchell, and I work at Falls Steakhouse.
we would have to go inch by inch, and he was lucky he didn't hit anybody. And the ambulance couldn't get through. They were burning out, going out of control, and if they had hit someone else, they would have killed them. I mean, there was children there in struggle.
Okay, and I agree, you totally got out of hand, and there was not enough, our police department did a fantastic job.
They did.
I want to commend them, because they put their life out there. The
Oh,
Georgia
yes,
State Patrol
they
did
did.
it, and the county, but we didn't, there was not enough people.
Yes.
You can't control 23 to 25,000 kids that age. When they decide to get 3,000 together, and they're gonna rule, they're gonna rule.
I think that it was just too many people for a town, our size.
It is, and I agree.
You know, if we can save time by avoiding repetition, I think, you know, we all live here, we know what went on. It was horrible, it was an inconvenience, to put it mildly, but it was a scary thing and not an image we want for our town.
No.
And there is some people that make money, there's some people that did not make a dime.
It's not about the
No.
money,
No, it is not.
it's about the impression it could make on our town.
Well, not only that, the safety of
Of
the
the
tourists
people.
and the residents
Yeah.
and alike. Because it would not have taken much for this to become a riot situation.
Yes.
And once someone decided to throw a bomb or something in a
Yes.
building or light a building, this town would have been held.
Yes,
And-
it was like I thought I was in Ferguson, Missouri
Right.
there for a long time.
And I-
But
and I
they did a
agree.
good job. I mean, but it was just too much.
And I understand that there was a tow truck that almost got turned over. And the person's still in it, you know, just from people being annoyed. And no, we do not need that for the
No.
safety of everyone in this town.
Yes.
So I guess what I want to ask, is there anyone out there that is for? Okay, would y'all please step forward and make comments on that?
Hi, I'm Lauren Faith. I was at Helen Rentals, which has been there 20 plus years. I will agree that it was chaotic. I do think that better preparedness would enable us to have this successfully in future years to come. I think that our police did a fantastic job, but I think we were very underprepared. I've heard people say that we had no way to know how many were coming, but there was an article that came out probably a week ahead of time that told us about 23,000.
Yeah, we knew there was going to be 23,000.
Right, so I just think maybe better preparedness would allow us to keep this event, because I think it's a wonderful event for our town. I think that most people that come to this event, I'm gonna say this, not knowing percentages, but 80% of these guys are here for the cars. They're not here to party, they're car enthusiasts. Then you have 20% where daddy bought their car, daddy paid their way here, and they don't care what they destroy. The 20% is what we need to maintain, but most of these guys have a real passion for the vehicles. I have several properties and not one was damaged. Most of them, I'm gonna say 90% of them, were left like nobody even stayed in them. They followed the rules exactly. I had no damages, I had nothing. However, we do have an age restriction on the people that stay in our properties.
You have an age restriction?
Yes, we do.
And what is that?
25.
And did you, let's say, I mean, I went by a cabin here in Helen that I know is a 3-bedroom cabin. And there was 9 vehicles at one time. Now, there's probably more than that that stay there, and if you figure 2 people per vehicle in a 3-bedroom house.
Right.
So, I mean, you know, you've got so many people piling into these places that, you know, I mean, so how are we gonna keep this 20% out?
I mean, I don't think that you can keep them out. I think you can be better prepared to handle that 20%.
And how do you suggest we are better prepared than we were? Because we thought we were pretty prepared.
By taking some of the money that this event raises and hiring outside help.
We did.
I just don't think there was enough.
Well,
I'll say, I was in town Saturday evening. I was here probably until 1 o'clock. I was actually at Big Daddy's majority of the time. There were no issues at Big Daddy's. Everyone was perfectly fine and under control. I did come back up to Main Street, and the Main Street was completely flooded with people. There was no one fighting. There was no one being assaulted, anything like that. However, they were flooding the streets to where I can understand the ambulances and nobody could get through.
Okay.
So I'm just thinking with a larger police presence, you would be able to contain that, because at the point that I was here during that evening, which was from about 9 to about 1, there were maybe 10 officers that I saw between Main Street and the back street where the police is.
Okay.
There was only one officer on each side of that.
I don't know if you're aware, but there were 14 state of Georgia State
Yes.
Patrol that were trying to get here, and their commander pulled them away from them.
For their own safety.
The situation got so dangerous for their own safety, they left town.
They were told.
We had every hell of a police officer working.
And
We hired all we could from the White County Sheriff's Department, and took all we could get from Georgia State Patrol.
Right.
I think what it would take, what you're talking about, is to have the National Guard, and we don't want anything like that.
And we don't need a riot situation for.
We don't need more police
We do
officers.
not. We do not. But
I just
anyway,
think any type of more preparedness, whether it be a curfew that we put in place for that weekend, whether it be specified areas other than
we
what
have
we
a couple of
have.
other people that want to do a positive also. Thank you very much. Okay.
Hey, Stacy Jackson, Alpine Brew.
Uh-huh.
I see all y'all's concern, but it also does bring a lot of revenue, not just to Helen. I mean, that was Ingles, that was Walmart, that was every gas station in Cleveland. It is a big problem, and there should be maybe a Greg Lauren, should be a curfew. You know, hey, get off the streets. I know I talked to Catherine at the post office this morning, and she made everybody that didn't stay at her motel and leave her property at a certain time. We looked at something like that, but we do need these. And I know some businesses hurt, like the buggy places hurt, it does hurt some businesses. But it's also, I mean, to me, I sit around all winter, and I see 100 tourists for 3 or 4 months, you know, and I do need to make that money. And of course, I do sell alcohol, and of course, it was crazy out in front of the store. But I was out there, I had people patrolling my parking lot, I had extra trash put out. I didn't see any damage. I know there's some damage out there. But as far as, all they want to do is get there and smoke a few tires. You know, maybe we can find a place to do that. And, you know, maybe fix the place to do it. I don't know, but we need this amount of people. And I know it was kind of scary there about midnight, because like I said, I was out there.
And
But
when
like
it
I
gets
say,
into a riot situation, what do we do? Especially when the Georgia State Patrol go ahead and pull out for their safety.
yeah, well, I only seen 5 state patrol, and I was out there all night. I didn't, of course,
Well,
like
they're
I
not
said,
all-
pull them out. They
they're not
should have
all-
actually sent more instead of pulling out.
For their own safety, they took them out. And what I'm saying is that leaves the residents and the people that are here
Yeah.
very unprotected.
Yeah.
And all it's going to take is one crowd that
Yeah.
decides, let's light a fire here, and Helen is going to be gone, because nobody can get into stuff.
Yeah, but we have a year to think about it. You know, don't ban it off the top. And I know there's some crazy videos out there, but maybe, like I say, look at a curfew. I mean, I don't know. But we need this amount of people, this beginning of summer. I mean, we all sat here, we started dead all here in the winter, and we need this beginning of revenue, you know.
Okay,
So,
thank
thank
you
y'all.
so much.
Yep.
Okay. Anyone else?
Something different.
I'm not for it, okay, I want to state that, but I want to say a few words if you don't mind. I sat out in front of the square, White Oak Square, where my business is all weekend long, at the crosswalk. I saw every traffic law I have ever known about my entire life violated minute after minute after minute after minute. I'm not concerned with making money or losing money. We lost money, but that's okay. It happens. It happens to all of us. You know, it's not a problem. Those that made money, I'm happy. Glad they did. One person, they would pull up to that crosswalk, sit there and horse their motors. They would wait till the crosswalk cleared, if they even bothered to stop. Most of them did. They just zipped on through. And then they would wait till the car in front of them cleared the crest of the hill down toward the horizon. Then they would take off full throttle. They'd line up 5 and 6 deep, speeding up through there. One old person crossing the sidewalk, one small child, got killed in our streets because of this thing. It doesn't matter how much money people make or how much money people lost. That life of that person is worth more than anything that's been ever generated in this town. And that was my big concern, was the safety.
It's the
factor.
safety. Yeah, that is ours also. It's the safety more so than the revenue.
Yeah.
and money. Exactly. But I'd like to ask Brian, since our chief is out, Mr. Captain's not here, but I do know that Brian worked this weekend. Do you have anything? I mean, I know you were out there. I talked to you Saturday. And that on Saturday, like you stated, everything was fine Saturday about 2 o'clock. 1 or 2 o'clock, it had been okay. But then Saturday night, I guess, is when it started.
We started having problems with the crowd. As far as being prepared, we worked on this 3 months, 4 months prior to them ever getting close to town. Every contingency plan was put in place. We did hire extra officers from the county. We hired as many deputies that was available. We contacted Georgia State Patrol. We had 14 state troopers assigned to us. When the crowd got so large, and what you have to understand, I keep hearing about curfew and everything. That's great, but the problem is it does not work. If you have a small percentage, and I'm not saying all of SoWo is bad, I'm saying a small percentage that is ruining for everybody, putting the town in danger, along with our citizens, along with our officers, or if they're doing this, if they're not going to abide by state law, why would you even think they would abide by a curfew?
Well, that's what I know.
Okay? They're going to get out there and do what they want to. The problem is they're making the whole look bad, but just that small percentage is grown so much that we're not capable of handling it. There was burnouts, there was traffic violations. The problem is the police department was stretched beyond its limitations. We were at post to keep problems from happening, and we did have some serious problems within SoWo. Again, it might have been that 1%er. There were some locals that was also dealt with that came in trying to make them look bad. The state patrol, once the crowd gathered on Main Street, we had an ambulance that wasn't able to get through. The fire chief had problems with his fire apparatus going through, them actually jumping on the fire trucks. State Patrol came up, made 2 passes, contacted their captain, and their captain asked them to go ahead and leave for their safety. That left 4 officers for the 3,000 people down here. The other officers were at post trying to hold their crowd back. It's not that we're against SoWo. We're not against anything. We're not against people making money. We're not against anything. What we are for is the safety of the town and the safety of the citizens. And it's just gotten to a point to where the crowds are so large that we're not able to handle them. The small percentage that comes in has grown, and those are the ones that we can't do anything with. We can have additional officers, and I don't believe it's going to make any difference. I believe the only thing that's going to increase is the number of arrests.
And the more people, I believe, is going to be here. I did talk to Neil Walden, our White County Sheriff today, to ask him what his opinion was out in the county. You know, since we basically in the city. And he did like, I think it was 21 DUIs, you know, Saturday night. But he said that, like Panorama Estates and a couple of places these people stayed, he said they just had havoc all night. He said his people were so stretched, just in the county, much less the ones that was here in the city, that, you know, they couldn't do it. And his opinion was that he did not think Helen was large enough to have this capacity of an event. And just the pure putting, if you just stood 23,000 people side by side without a car, you know, and, you know, I mean, it's going to cover Helen that you cannot get around. And Helen is a very small town.
We dealt with the record driver where he was down there to pull the vehicle. The crowd rushed it, was actually tracking inside, wasn't allowing him to exit the vehicle, and was attempting to flip the vehicle. We received calls where another gentleman was locked inside of his truck. They had busted the windows out. They was attempting to turn his vehicle over. We did deal with weapons. We made some arrests where weapons were pulled within the crowds. I mean, we've had a sexual assault that had been reported, we've had a kidnapping that had been reported. So we're not dealing with just burnouts.
No, and if one of these people
We
that
had-
made money, if one of these people that did make money, and that was either you or your child, that ended up to be sexually assaulted or something like that, I think you would, you may say, okay, that's enough.
Sergeant Stevens, what about the interaction with the crowd as far as, we've understood that there was things thrown at the police officers, rocks, beer bottles, and there was chanting going on and all this kind of stuff. Did you?
Up here Saturday night with the crowd, our officers did experience some beer bottles being thrown at them. There was a rock thrown through the patrol car window. It missed the officer driving and went in and struck his passenger, his partner. Major injuries, but it could have been. It could have been. We tried to accommodate them to keep them just as calm as we could, because we did have a situation that could have turned very violent, very nasty for us in just a few minutes. We had no backup at that point. We were it. The officers did an outstanding job. Everybody stood their ground. They were very professional in their manner. We didn't have, these issues Thursday night or Friday night. Saturday night, after the contest, people started drinking. Once they formed, that's when all the problems started. Once we cleared them off of Main Street, they went back to other streets. We'd do the same thing, and what we would do is shut the streets down to where they were at to try and control them the best we could.
Is it worth it for all of you who had record-breaking weekends, did the most money you've ever made, is it worth it to you if we continue this and it ruins the reputation of Helen forever, and the families don't want to come back here because word's going to get out about this? It already has. And I mean, is it worth it for one great weekend to ruin everything we worked so hard to build through the years?
I'd like to see a show of hands. Who is for it coming back? Just raise your hand if you're for it. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. Okay.
I do, my name is Lindsay Holt, we have good guys. I do agree that it's very dangerous. I do agree that we have record-breaking numbers in the history of Big Daddy Deal. I do believe that the chief of police and all police officers did absolutely everything possible that they can do. I do not understand why GSP pulled out for their safety. If it's for their safety, what about the safety of everyone else in the town? We're here to protect and serve us. Our officers, our EMS, our firefighters, they did a phenomenal job. We had to bring in extra people to work. We had security in our parking lot Friday night, all day Saturday. We had to take extra precautions to make sure that everything was going to be okay. I know that there's a lot of stress. I do know that NOLA is in October. That is an event that SoWo is having in New Orleans. I don't know if by providing a second event, it's going to ease the pain of one event a year. If it's going to pull the people off of the West Coast and the West Side and the middle part of the United States into that one, as opposed to everyone coming to one small city once a year. I think we need to keep it that as an option, is possibly it won't be as bad next year, just for the simple fact that people have a choice to do one or the other. I know they come in, they spend a lot of money. They have to rent places. Some places have 4-night minimums, some places have 3, 2. It's not cheap to come into town, eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's not cheap to stay here in town. It's not cheap to buy gas in this area. So I know they spend a lot of money, and it is very dangerous for some people. I personally at Big Daddy's had 0 problems. I had no problems whatsoever. We had people helping us clean up. We had the people thanking us, yes ma'am, no ma'am, and maybe we didn't get that small percentage of bad people just because we provided extra help to protect that from our property. And that may be something that some other people might need to consider doing. And not that our security can physically do anything to anybody, but I think if you have that physical person there on site that's a visual, I think most people steer away from doing bad things. We have an 18-wheeler truck in the back of our parking lot that has thousands of dollars worth of groceries and alcohol to support this event, and we have to buy insurance for that just to make sure that nothing happens. And nothing happened to Big Daddy's. And we are right in the line of fire, and there are officers at posts. And there are several times I walked out and, to see if they're okay. Not that I can do anything, but offered them a bottle of water. I spoke with Mr. Couch a couple times. And, he said it was getting out of hand on Saturday, and Saturday night was getting out of hand. But I think that my biggest problem is the GSP pulling out of town and not being here to help with these guys. They left these guys stranded. And I don't know if there's a way of getting them to come into town and stay. I have no idea how we can control that or how we can prevent that. But I think that next year is not going to be as big just for the simple fact that there will be a second event.
I heard that they were planning on coming back in August of this year. Has anyone heard that?
It's not, if it is, it's just an individual event that, I wouldn't even call it an event. They may be coming back to visit. But Matthew Bounds and SoWo, they are having NOLA in New Orleans in October, which is the same thing as SoWo, but it's just in New Orleans.
New Orleans is a little bit bigger than Helen.
It is. It is a lot.
Oh, yeah.
But I think it's going to offer a second option for people to choose one or the other.
Lindsay, and you will remember this, I guess, most of you probably will. When this started 9 years ago, there were 150 people here, and that was all.
Right.
And as it grew, it was okay.
It's a lot. I'm not going to say it's
These
not a
last
lot.
few years, we've had incidents that, were potential.
Right. And when it comes to the safety of this town and residents.
It is.
I'd like to ask, are there any motel owners here?
Thank you.
Catherine?
What condition were your motels left in? Now, I saw some that looked like they were completely trashed, riding down the road on Saturday night.
My name is Catherine Kleiman. I'm the general manager of the Helen. We've been headquarters of the SoWo event for the past 9 years. The last 5 years, we've employed off-duty White County Sheriff's deputies to man our property. This year, to make sure that my wishes were carried out, I stayed with the officers until 2 o'clock in the morning on Friday and Saturday. Excuse me. We had one episode of someone being very proud of their chest. I walked over to the lady, well, I use that term. I walked over to the young woman and I told her that if that was the behavior that she chose, she needed to leave. And she did not have a reoccurrence. We kept the music turned down on all the vehicles parked in the parking lot. It was very hard to monitor just our specific area. And we had fantastic success. We had a midnight curfew, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. At midnight, I started walking around the property, telling everyone who was not a guest that they needed to leave, that the party was over. We had great cooperation. And as soon as the parking lot was cleared, all of the rest of the folks who were staying at the hotel helped my staff and I pick up the debris that was in the parking lot. And there was not much. Everyone seemed to be able to find the trash cans with no problem. We did not have any room damage whatsoever, except one room did have a little bar pit, but not much. No physical damage at all. Everyone was very respectful, very kind. I had one person burn out in my parking lot, and that person wasn't a guest. And I told him that he needed to leave. And that was on Thursday, by the way, before anything got too silly. But for the people who came for SoWo to the Helen, we had 4-night minimum. And all of those individuals were fantastic. Again, 0 damage, great respect for the city of Helen, great respect for the police officers, great respect for the sheriff's deputies. And they love coming here. And they really appreciate everything that the city does to try to make sure that the event is a fantastic one. The folks who stayed at the Helen Dorf were not part of the chaos that occurred later on Saturday. I drove through it, I didn't like it. If we can figure out a way to try to minimize some of that insanity, it would be great. It's a great event with the people who behave and bring a lot of respect with them for the city of Helen and all of its residents and all of its business owners in town. So before we make a huge decision against the few people that cause a horrific problem, please consider the ones who love us and respect us beyond all measure.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
And I think Judy Holloway had something she wanted to say.
Well, I'm a shop owner as well as a resident. And the quality that we have put into our town to make our town beautiful and family orientated, and we're trying to get a better reputation in our town than, okay, don't go to Helen, it's just a beer drinking town. This event, which I have nothing against SoWo, as I said, I'm a merchant, I know what their purchase is, so that's what I stopped. But as far as the safety, we didn't have it this weekend. They did the best they could. You have to commend them all. But the event itself has outgrown this city. And that's basically the bottom line. I mean, our residents don't feel safe. You can't get from point A to B without some sort of a conflict. I mean, do we really want that back into our town? It's something to consider on both sides.
Well, Catherine, I think, was very fortunate and prepared, I guess. Some of the motels that I saw were so trashed, I can only imagine what the rooms looked like, because the outside was just...
You should have a letter from
Yeah, there's
That's
a
what
lot
to
of
separate when they actually lost money from damages and so forth.
May I interject something?
Yes. Keep it short, please.
Yes, ma'am. Jesse Phillips, I own Mine Chef Tattoo in Pearson. My wife and my son and I are all residents of Helen. The only thing that I would like to say that has not already been discussed, I am heavily involved in social media sites like Instagram. And if you get on there and look at the hashtag SoWo and SoWo 2015, you will see a lot of these people that were here behaving badly, which is a small amount of a larger crowd. But that large crowd of 20,000 people, let's say it's 20%, that's still 4,000 people behaving poorly. They are very smug about their behavior. And we rely on tourism and stuff, but I'm in the service industry. Those aren't the kind of people that I want to spend my time serving. And even if it's a small amount of a larger crowd that's very positive, nice people, it's too much. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Ash?
Name me up or you want me to?
No, you can stay right there.
It was 9 or 10 years ago that we as a commission, and I went and sat and talked with the SoWo crowd to come here. And it's like Helen said, it was 2 or 3, I mean, everybody there who comes to your house and it was the best crowd around. But it's almost like me and RT talked about. This thing now is like pouring a pitcher of beer into a 12-ounce cup. It's just on it's not, the ones that came to my restaurant, south of town, greatest people. But it took me an hour to get from my restaurant, which is outside the city, 200 feet, to my residence that's in the city. It took me an hour to get from my place to up to to turn off at the Ramada Inn. Now, you stated that there was an ambulance that came through. Was there ambulances trying to come through that night?
Yes.
I had an ambulance, and I'd like to tell the fire chief and the guy to my place Saturday, a gentleman had an aneurysm, pulled over to the place. They got down there, but I would have hated to try to get an ambulance to someone at 2 o'clock at night. They got this came at about 12 or 1 o'clock in the afternoon around lunchtime. Some gentleman got very sick, pulled into the parking lot right there. It's not that most of this crowd is real good, but the problem is we've outgrown it. We cannot.
And I have to agree with you. I mean, I know it brings money.
And I survived. I didn't do any business Friday night. That's part of sometimes made for me, but I'll survive it. But this, I don't know how much business I've done anyway, but this, it was just too, well, we've outgrown it.
Well, you know, and that is correct. When you pour a beer into, a pitcher of beer into 8 or 12 ounces, it's just not going to fit in, it overflows, and it becomes a safety hazard for everyone. I think Ms. Helen wants to.
Molly mentioned this is the 9th year, so guess what next year is? It's the 10th anniversary. So if they come here, and I mean, can you imagine how that would be touted? Now, I went down to our property and sought out Matthew Bounds, the organizer, on Sunday morning, to have a little discussion with him. He's a very respectful, nice fellow. But, you know, and I said, look, this is horrible. It's just, this has been, we don't want this for our town. And I'm just speaking as myself now. I hadn't talked to the other commissioners at the time. But I said, I just can't imagine this going forward after what happened this weekend. He said, well, let me tell you this, Ms. Wilkins. He said, if you stop it, they're just going to keep coming. I said, well, not if they don't have the property over there and parking lots to put the big trucks on and all the event stuff. Oh, but they will still come. I said, well, they'll have to just come on, but they won't have an event to come to, and then it'll just eventually die a natural death. But that was his response.
Sounds like a threat.
Is there any other comment other than what people have already said? Okay, Ms. Jody Shahan, and we'll take one more after this. And
Okay, I'm Jody Shahan. Should you even consider allowing SoWo back? Investigate what Daytona's had to do, what Panama City, Super Bowl, all these places. The people that are putting the event on have to take the financial responsibility of bringing in mounted patrols and security and not leaving that on the city's doorstep. So consider asking Mr. Bounds what he would do to come up with and pay for to make our community safe.
okay,
Well, we're such a small town, but the quantity that we bring into town, that's
there's over
the problem with this. They've just outrun our city.
As this fellow said, even if it's 4,000 instead of 20, if it's 4,000 bad eggs, that's overwhelming for Helen, Georgia.
I'd like to know if the sewer system can handle it.
Yes.
I'm immediately downstream.
Well, I'm going to ask our city manager. I don't think we have a problem with our sewage system.
That's probably because they were just going in the field and
And I kind of figured that. I kind of figured along with the National Forest.
I would like to see I'd like to see the records from this past weekend of this water treatment facility. I'd like to see what they are, because I don't know if I'm putting my customers at risk.
Okay. We have one, go ahead.
As far as to answer your question about the sewer system, yes, sir. The water and sewer system can happen.
Yeah.
Can you get?
And we have a 500,000 gallon a day permit, and it was about 480,000 gallons.
So it was tapping it out.
Yeah, so.
I'd like to see the records if I could. It's a downstream.
Fill out an open records request, we'll be glad to provide you with that as required by law.
Who is that?
Open records.
Fill out an open records request, and we can provide you with that.
I'll file
Okay.
I have a suggestion for, my name's Lee Byers, I live in Athens, but I was through here Saturday night and got caught up in this without any knowledge of the fact, because there was no detour or signage to that effect outside the city to warn me off. But I have a suggestion to accommodate SoWo and provide for safety of the city of Helen. That is to recommend that the organizers of SoWo rent a facility such as Road Atlanta. It's big enough, they can race all they want to, they can do all the burnouts they want to, there's plenty of room for camping, it can handle that kind of
Well, and
traffic.
there's several other places, Marty, there's several other places that can handle it, but the city of Helen just
Helen is not
cannot.
one.
No, it cannot.
And I've seen evidence online video evidence of sexual assaults, simple assaults, property, battery. You admit that you knew this crowd was going to be this large, try to provide for it, and the public safety backed out of it. That is an indication to me that it just would be impossible to carry on.
Is there anything any different than anyone said out there? Does anybody have anything any different?
I just had a question, okay, actually 2 questions. One, do we have these people that did sexual assault, the one that pulled the gun, have they been proven to be from SoWo? Because from my understanding, the one that pulled a weapon and was arrested was not anything to do with SoWo. He was in a Corvette.
Okay,
but I'm just asking a safety issue.
That was that was getting hit on.
It doesn't matter what he's driving.
Okay, my next question is, when Memorial Day weekend gets too big for Helen, like, are we gonna cancel it too? Because then nobody's making any money.
Well, Memorial weekend is
Oktoberfest, when Oktoberfest gets too big, are we gonna cancel it?
25,000 people in here is the
4th
largest.
of July, a ton of people, are we gonna cancel it?
If it gets to 23,000 and it is a safety hazard, I guess we will.
But then we won't be a tourist town. Like we are.
Obviously, this is becoming anarchic.
Right.
I would like to say that if your reason for wanting to do this is because of the revenue it brings in, then somewhere along the way, you've lost your moral compass. I mean, to even consider, well, gosh, should we bring them back in if we can just get more cops in here? That is the most insane thing I've ever heard.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am. And this is the last one.
One thing I wanted to say is, if Atlanta was able to hold the Olympics and not all the events took place in downtown Atlanta, some of them took place in other states. Why don't we get them to rent one of the racetracks, local racetracks, where they can do racing, where they can do burnouts, where they can do whatever they want?
That's not our responsibility.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Why don't we approach them with ideas and suggestions? Then also when it comes to the police, why do we not have riot control police? Why don't we have police from Atlanta, have mounted patrol, have motor?
Why don't we invite a better class of person to help?
I mean, just
That is enough, Mr. Jeff Ashton has a comment, and that is it.
I appreciate his comments. I've lived here my whole life and been a part of city government, watched it grow. And the thing that concerns me the most, 9 years ago, we, because of the economy turned down, began to add special events because they were badly needed. So we began to bring in different groups of people. Over the last 9 years, some of these special events have evolved into 1 a month, sometimes 2 a month. We've lost our focus. A special event is not what comes into this thing. We need to rewrite our script, classic city. We are the event. The entire business community, whether you're in the beer business, the bed business, the retail business, but we cannot afford to have any more people in this community than we are physically able to take care of with our standard force. When you start hiring 40 police officers to conduct an operation for 3 days, and you really needed 80, you're in the wrong business. And I'm opposed to it. I'm flat telling you, I'm opposed to SoWo at this level.
Discussion we're going to have on that, so we're going to continue our meeting. Okay, and everyone is more than welcome to stay. Number 7, Alpine Colors White County CBD monthly report.
He is not able to be here today.
I would like to thank all of you for coming, first of all, I'm sorry, and giving your opinion, okay? Thank you so much. We got a film, sir. Discussion of SoWo event, number B. Your administration. I don't know what else we can discuss.
I make a motion, I've already made mine, I'm gonna make a motion number 7, that Jerry be authorized to notify the SoWo event holders that next year is not going to be permitted.
I need a second.
Second,
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
on them to start looking elsewhere.
And I'm sure we're probably gonna have several thousand of them still come, but
right.
maybe not 23,000. And we might actually, it might end up to be a nice event, you know, just by doing that.
No, because they won't have.
And let's start thinking of Helen as a special event by itself.
Okay.